Well, perfect. Thanks for that short intro, Will. Yeah, like Will said, I'm going to introduce it. We have a few challenges we're going to mainly be focusing on after this quick introduction. So, well, for introduction, I'm Drew Tuttle. I'm president of Code Keys. I've been working with Will since March. I live up here in Cache Valley. It's a really cool place where Code Keys actually kind of came from. So Code Keys was initially a research project slash teaching thingamajig at Utah State University for teaching Python syntax before the rest of everything as a better foundation for teaching a new programming language and programming in general. So that's where it started. It was developed at Utah State University. Now here as Code Keys, we're taking that to the next level. We're taking that to other universities. We're trying to get more people talking about it. And well, that's how we kind of get to this next point. So in our research, as we were doing our bullseye exercise of focusing on which marketing channels we would like to go down to, we kind of we started with 18 different things, and then we kind of went through it all until we ended up with a few smaller things, with one of which being unconventional PR, which is, PR stunts, because we stumbled across while testing through the product Code Keys. We decided to race each other at one point, and we had a lot of fun doing that. So like, what if we made this a bigger scale and we did a speed run competition with various students from various universities? Maybe get a little bit of that BYU, U of U rivalry going on, which is seeming to prove pretty effective so far with some outreach. But so the main challenges we are having and want to discuss with the rest of you all for your feedback is, first of all, getting sufficient registrants to register for our product, for our competition called CodeChalk. We've had a few from some universities and some departments, but not as many from others. So we can discuss a few strategies with that. Another one is having a significant PR effect as a result of having this event, how to maximize that ripple effect and get people talking about it. And finally, how to make the event more interesting for just viewers of the competition, not necessarily the participants that'll be participating in the speedrun itself. So those are our three things we want to focus on. I think we can start with getting sufficient outreach and people knowing that they can even register for this competition. So currently, I'll tell you what we have been doing so far is reaching out to the career centers and various professors at each of the 4 universities, which include USU, UVU, U of U, and BYU. So just a lot of U's. And we've reached out to their career centers for both their business and computer science departments, because they both have they use Python in both of those departments in some of the degrees. And we've had a lot of success with specifically U of U and their CS department, but a few registrants from many of the other departments in other areas. So far what we've done is reach out to the career centers and some professors. I'm not sure, would anyone else like to, when it comes to contacting various students to register events and stuff like that, does anyone have any thoughts on how to better find people that would be interested in winning a large sum of money from doing this sort of competition?
Drew, do you want to share your screen and
Yes.
show them the flyer that we've got for the CodeChalk competition? And then one thing I just have to say is that I totally kicked Drew's butt in our first speed run. He'll say that his keyboard died in the middle of it. I don't know if that's totally true. But
and you can get past question 2 of the second run of it. So
I don't want to talk about it. So no, it's actually been a lot of fun. So this is kind of the approach that we've been having at this point. What are we up to right now, registrants wise? Drew?
Is it sharing this window too? Okay, cool.
Yep.
So we're up to 69 registrants. Got 79% of them from U of U, mostly computer science, 13 from Brigham University, and we got one guy from UVU. Right here.
So our question for you, and you can go ahead and stop sharing the screen there. Our question for you would be, what would you do to get more students registered? That's our first challenge.
Hey, Will, can you talk for a minute or Drew about the purpose again of why you're wanting to do this and what you're hoping?
So let's help you get the business reason for this. So there's a book called Traction by Gabriel Weinberg that talks about how like every startup needs traction. They outline 19 different channels. One of those channels is unconventional PR or PR stunts. And so this came up as a possible PR stunt. And so far, with very little effort, we've been able to get these career advisors to blast out an email to all of their students about it. And then we started an email campaign to all of the professors at UVU or at
UVU and BYU
and
computer
BYU
science.
computer science departments, just saying, hey, we literally put BYU versus UVU speed run competition in the subject line, and like really great response. They're sending it out to their students as well. And so our goal is to leverage this to create relationships with these computer science professors, and then say, remember the product that powered the speed run. That's actually something we can use to teach students syntax inside your classes without you having to actually be the one who has to focus on syntax. So that's the main value proposition, is that the professors don't have to focus on boring syntax inside their classrooms.
So there's been a few questions about why it's limited to those schools and not broader geography.
Great question. And Spencer actually asked me the same question last week. And the reason why we focus just on those two schools initially is because we believe that we could go a lot bigger on our overall approach here. Like we could go and have like a massive speedrun competition, but we're not totally sure whether or not that will translate to sales. And so we wanted to go with the minimum viable version of a speedrun that could maybe make some PR impact and see, does that actually translate into, oh, we were able to, bring on some customers with what's there. And so we tried to limit our scope so that we didn't spend a year building cool speedruns that don't make any money. Great question, though.
Who's going to judge the competition?
So the competition itself is run through Madra. It's hosted in there. That's where CodeKeys currently is for people that aren't using it through another LMS system. And what it does is, so you're gonna, if you stay for after this session, you'll actually see exactly how it's gonna work for yourself. But how it works on the back end is that it tracks when you start and finish the challenges. So it's a long slew of really short exercises where you have to adjust the syntax to fix little errors and bugs and go through this whole thing. And it tracks how long it takes you to do that thing. And then we download the spreadsheet after the allotted time window has ended. So we're giving them like a window to complete the assessment. Then we get the winners and move them up to the next round. So it lists their time, how long it took them. It takes about 30 minutes on average from the ones we've tested with so far. I've seen people do it in 16 minutes. But that's how it's going to work, is it's just tracking how long it takes them to do it. It is in fact a speed run more than anything else. So that's the main focus, is just how long it take them to do it.
So so right after this, if you've got time, we've got the registration up, and we'd love to invite anybody who wants to come try out the speed run with us, kind of do a rough dry run, so to speak, of the software. We've already done a couple of dry runs, but we're looking for more ranges of feedback on that. But yeah, so going back to our original question, if you've hosted an event and you were very effective at getting lots of people there, I'm curious, what do you think would be ways that we could capture more interest beyond what we're already doing? Any thoughts or ideas?
You specifically want more students or more professors to come watch and be potential sales?
Both would be. I mean, we're interested in both categories of individuals getting there. I would say that the more students we can get involved, I think the better reach we're going to have across like an overarching like media impact and some of those other pieces. So.
What I would do is, ideally you get like Mark Rober, who is a big YouTuber. That's not going to happen because he's got his own engineering course. but you get someone, a big influencer that would participate in the event, and then he tweets about it and he posts about it. And then all the students that follow this guy are like, oh, what's this event? And they go. So you start with a smaller mid-sized YouTuber. You'll have to pay him probably, but you invite them to the event and maybe, I don't know, $1,000, whatever you can for that person.
I like the YouTuber idea. We actually have the host of Talk Python, who also has his own course. He came and looked at it and said, "This is interesting. It's kind of adjacent to what I'm doing," and he's actually sponsoring the first one of these. If it goes well, he's planning on like announcing it to his audience and those sorts of things as well. But I love the idea of more influencers.
Will, I don't know if you've been in a breakout room with Nate, but this is kind of his world, or was his world. So you or Drew, I think, should follow up with him on promotion.
Nate and I know each other pretty well, but I didn't know he was in this side of things. I'm actually advising him on the Philippine startup that he's working on. So Nate, we should talk about this more later.
Let's do it.
I like from Spencer Lovelace about LinkedIn events. Anyone? I have not posted something to a LinkedIn event. I've been invited to things, and then it's a little wonky sometimes because you have to then leave and go register on another site, and then you're getting like 2 calendar invites. Has anyone experienced that or know how to work through or with the LinkedIn events page?
I've never done it, but I know I get them all the time. So, and some I accept, and some most are just like, no.
That's
a lot of it depends on who it's coming from.
And then the weird thing about that invite is then when like someone said, then you've got to go to another link, and sometimes that link isn't really set up properly. So there's, yeah. And I'm not sure if there's enough students on LinkedIn. Like what other kind of interactive platforms are there that the different universities use?
okay. So for all of the SBS people that are students, it's time for you to wake up. I have a question. Where would you go to look for events? Like, where are you? Like, does Instagram do events? I don't actually do Instagram's Meetup.
I think a lot of your target demographic is going to be hanging out on Discord. And so my idea, I know that I think it was Madra that's also doing this, but basically like Emily, someone is hanging out like in different Discord servers and stuff and just being active in them and posting about it.
Discord's a brilliant idea. If we could find a Python Discord.
I know the clubs, at least at Utah State University where I'm at, has them, and I think we're trying to find contacts in them. And I think that would be a really good way to push Code Shock specifically as well.
Yeah. Okay, so those are some fantastic ideas. If you have more ideas about ways that we can get more students around there, I'd be super interested in hearing those. I think it's funny. Taylor is totally here. He's just in the chat. What the next question that we have is what can we do? So this is something I've never done before. I've never like I wrote a PR brief when I was in college, and I'm sure it was fantastic, but I've never actually been picked up by a local media source or looked at anything like that. We'd love to have as big a splash as possible, leveraging the rivalry, which has already been working pretty good in terms of like getting us in. But has anybody ever been picked up by a local news source, or can you connect us with someone who could help us get connected? Thoughts that way?
Sounds like a chat question to me.
I can tell you, like, there are resources like Good Things Utah, but those are actually, while they're kind of pseudo news, they're usually like you pay to be on those. So Good Things Utah, I don't know what the going rate is. It might be like $1,800 to have a segment. where they cover what you're doing. And you get viewership, but you also have to recognize that viewership is an older, people who are still watching television. There's also Doug Jessup, he's always writing about interesting things that are going on. So if you can pique his interest and write to him, he'll show up at events, at tech events from time to time, and he's always open if you can find a good angle, and maybe just the competitive nature of this, of like BYU versus which university, but you've got to just be really good at creating the hook for him, right? Do his job for him, in part, like why he should write about it.
The digital holy war is what we were going to call it.
Yeah, that might get him excited.
I'm happy to share Tech Buzz News and have an interview with them. They'd be more than happy to jump on that story and help exposure for that.
I was going to say too, thanks for the call out. But I haven't done a ton of PR over the last like 5 years, but most of the places, like you need to reach out to them, right? Find people who are all the local PR that did before. We just had a list of outlets and we just blasted it every time something came around. And the goal is to present something to them that's easy for them. They don't have to do a lot of rewriting, and that's interesting, that they think is a good match for their audience. And so I think for sure I would hit up Dave Politis at Silicon Slopes. There's probably a number of those things, maybe the governor's office, maybe just places where people are talking about local events. And we could probably brainstorm a list. I was also going to ask, Will, have we done anything? Have you guys gone on site at any of the universities yet? Like just slapping stuff around, slapping QR code stickers on telephone poles and crap like that?
No, we've not done any QR code.
That's maybe a little bit of, that's a little bit hyperbolic, right? Maybe that's not the most targeted approach, but I think being on campus is, I know there's a lot of virtual stuff and virtual notice boards, but being on campus might be a great way to connect with, people if they have any kind of physical notice boards, things like that.
The digital notice boards. So Drew, do you know if they actually got those up? Drew actually asked, like, is there any other way we can get this out there? And BYU was like, oh yeah, we could put it on the board.
Yeah, they offered to put it on their digital TV screen they have just that's just always changing, advertisements or whatever for events. They offered to do that. I don't know if they have yet. They haven't gotten back to me on that. With that's like the extent of our physical and stuff on campus.
It's something that just occurred to me this morning. Like I have a little bit of familiarity with what you guys are doing from our conversations before, but something that just struck me is do you think that there's any students who are intimidated? Like, oh man, I'm just barely learning Python. I'm not ready for a competition yet. Do you think maybe there's a messaging that, hey, there's enough prizes that just come and participate, or do you think that that's not an issue, that maybe that's something where we need to get feedback from the CS contacts that you have at the universities?
That's a good point. I mean, our first iteration of this, Drew, like we've made it easy enough that, I mean, so the one we're testing after this call, if you want to stick around, it's not super challenging. We've made it so that it's much more accessible for a first round.
I have a question.
Go for it, Harley.
How many people are you targeting for this event?
That's a good question. Go for it, Drew.
Our goal is to have 50 per department that we want to run it in. So that's almost like around 100 per university. 50 in the CS and then 50 in the business department is our goal. I'm not sure if we're going to hit that with the business departments based on what I've experienced so far, but at least like around
400. 400
in total across the 4 universities.
400. Okay. And we could obviously pull it off with less. And we'll still move forward with the event even if we have less. But obviously that we'd love to have a larger coming out.
Well, to Tara's point, what else can someone expect or get in addition to money? What kind of bragging rights? Is there a way to offer something more than money?
Well, they do. So one thing that they are getting more than money is like the grand prize winner gets full access to all of the Python courses at Talk Python. So they've got, it's like $1,300 worth of Python courses that they can get access to. And that's part of the reason he's excited about, this is his audience, right? Like students who are going to school who want additional help learning Python. He's all about that. And so you could see him as a competitor to some degree, but it's more, we see it as a co-opetition, and he's got a huge audience. So if we can find a way to tap into the university audience and share that audience with him, I think he'll share his audience with us.
Cool.
But yeah, no, there is definitely something more from the standpoint of the why. Okay, so
there was a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Did you get the questions answered, or some of the questions answered? Let's see.
I was gonna just go up, since we've kind of hammered that, the PR node. Our last one here is, so the event right now, we're curious if anybody's ever run an online digital event, or if anybody has any ideas about running this event. As of right now, the way we've made it fun or interesting is we've like put everybody on a Zoom call and said, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. And then people like randomly call out like, I'm on module 6, and somebody's like, I'm on module 2, you're going too fast. And so that's kind of been the way that we've gotten it. But obviously, if you've got a group of 50 students all on a Zoom call at the same time, like, has anybody got any ideas or ways that they've thought about making something like that interesting, not only for the participants, but also the spectators?
Yeah, I've got one. What I would recommend is having casters, is what they call them in like Twitch. Twitch does this all the time, but the speedrun is more on a game, but you could use that same concept and idea. And then you'd have a professor or someone who can, if you have like a screen share of what they're actually doing and saying, oh yeah, that was use code, and talking about why that was good. And the participant themselves may not even be listening to it, but the audience is, right? You could broadcast this on Twitch, and there's a way to do, I think you can only like 4 or 5 channels into it. But there's also softwares like a vMix or a StreamYards or OBS that you could play with to do some of this as well.
I wonder, yeah, if you could you get OBS? Because that's the thing that I was wondering would be interesting. Like, could we, like, I'm not aware of any software where you could like get multiple people. Like, it'd be cool if I had some sort of screen where I could like choose who I was broadcasting, almost like you're at a like sports event like kind of thing, where it's like, oh, and here's the second runner up, and here's the guy who's in the lead, and kind of flip back and forth between the two.
Wirecast might do that, Will. It's a
Wirecast.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's like a webinar tool, right? For like Facebook Lives or Zoom or whatever. But they allow you to mix channels, to have like, you can drop in backdrops, and so it's kind of like it's like you would run the back of house at a live event, but for a digital event.
I wonder if like StreamYard or some of these others, and I wonder what the limit is. Like, how many can you cast at a time?
I doubt StreamYard can do it. StreamYard is pretty limited.
Okay.
I like that idea though. Like, essentially you're having like somebody call color on the race.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Stream a Zoom meeting.
Well, but I wonder, has anybody ever, how many multiple people can share screens in a Zoom meeting? Has anybody ever seen what the limit is? Like, how many different people can share screens at the same time?
We can try it right now. Everybody's allowed to share simultaneously right now. I don't know what it does.
I'm gonna break it
up to like 200 in company meetings,
where they're all sharing their screen at the same time. Okay, so somebody else share their screen too.
It says you cannot share screen while the other participant is sharing.
Well, It's
of a-
currently working because Drew's doing it, and so's Dallin, and so's Elizabeth.
Go to the top to view options, and you can.
So can I see? Interesting. If I'm sharing my screen, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see what it looks like. But you guys keep sharing. So if I've got view options, oh, and I can switch between them. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, a few more people share your screens. Like I want to see if we can get like 10.
It's not working on iPad. Are the people for whom it's working on computer?
Yeah, I would
Yep.
guess.
So we have our electrician that.
Okay, that's awesome because I can totally be like, now we're watching Nancy and now we're watching Chad. Oh, we're totally doing it this way.
I think it's really going to depend on, there's a facility.
Oh,
check.
that's going to be super entertaining because we can totally flip through and they won't necessarily be able to see each other, but they'll be able to hear us commentating. That's really cool. Okay, that was actually very helpful. I'm gonna have to see exactly how big that can get.
All right, so we got that tested. So we typically go until about 11:45 on these. And I know Will and Drew, you wanted to invite people to stay on. I think we'll, I don't know whether we'll keep the recording going or whether we'll cut it off. How long do you need for?
Honestly, even if people just stick around for 15 minutes. So Drew, can you post the link where they can register in the chat? And then if you can stick around and if you don't mind sharing your screen when you're doing that part, that would be probably the first for realsies dry run. Because that idea of multiple people sharing your screen, I'd never seen 10 before, but that totally allowed me to flip back and forth between them. And even if I only had 5 or 6 people sharing.
Don't go to that one.
Don't go to that one. Okay. So thanks everyone for coming. If you need to peel away, go for it. If you can stick around and join in the trial of the trial speed run.
I do have a question.
Go for it, Spencer.
So what kind of professors would be excited about this?
So CS professors, data analytics professors, MIS professors, anybody who has students who need to learn Python. So financial analysis is often something that uses Python, and those sorts of different pieces.
Okay. A couple of names that come to mind, like, well, so this might sound weird, but Sean Baer, who runs Nuri, he used to have a data analytics, I mean, that was his background. He built some really cool stuff and sold them, but he also teaches he's like an adjunct professor at BYU. I think he teaches like a strategy, whatever class to master's level students, maybe in the economics side of things.
Okay.
But he'd be a good one because he's also now running Nuri, which is a huge networking type app.
Yeah.
And then Tony Passy, but Tony, he's a professor at the University of Utah, but a marketing professor, but he used to run the marketing hack night. And I thought for some reason there was an angle to this, but he would get like 200 or 300 people coming to these events pre-COVID. He's just an interesting one to talk to, I think,
especially on like how to do an event for students.
Yeah. And he was always good at like leveraging the university kind of whatever. So he's the CEO at FireToss.
So select new registration and go ahead and create a quick account. Do the new registration at that link. And then if you don't mind starting to share your screens, that would be super helpful so that I can.
So then at the new user registration, you have to select a course.
There should only be one available right now.
Yeah, there's only one.
Prelim test. Okay.
I removed the other one to avoid confusion. The other one was also a test thing. It was old, relatively.
Okay, so if you can throw that up on a screen and start sharing your screen, that would be helpful so that I can start seeing what it looks like to see multiple screens. I think I can see Josh's.
Will, are you able to see more than one at a time? Or
yeah. Well, so you can't see them at a time. So one thing that I want to see,
You have dual monitor.
Taylor Bench, can you make me the host so I can see whether or not I can change which one's being viewed?
I certainly can. He
Or
certainly
Spencer?
can.
Yeah, Spencer. Taylor, you're the host.
I know. Let's see.
So I can definitely swap between, like I could give the color that we're looking for, but if I'm the host, I want to see if I can change what everybody else is. See which
There you
one,
go.
like, okay. So, perfect.
Let's get this party started.
So when you guys see,
So
when I switch between these, are you guys seeing different people? Like now I'm on Josh's, now I've switched to Nathan's.
No,
Okay, so
I don't. I don't.
let me see if I can.
I think if you
that's
have dual
because we're sharing screen. So I think it's because you're sharing, it only shows you what you're sharing, but someone not sharing, I think you might be able to see whatever Will is choosing.
I wonder, there's a way that I can pin like individual people, right? So like I can,
And if you guys want to start it, you just have to click the little pen paintbrush icon next to test run 2 again.
this totally works from, so maybe what we'll do is I will stream my screen.
and
And
then you'll
all of
jump
the,
in.
and then, so I'll be, so, because you guys can't see this, but I have a list of people that I can see screens, and I can already see that like, Josh is on the, he's on the opening page and he hasn't started yet. Dallin's actually started already. Oh, he's got it open. And I can see, like, I can flip back and forth and kind of see where people are. So if you're, I'd say like, normally what we do is say, on your mark, get set, go. Thanks, Spencer, for joining. So let's do it. On your mark, get set, go. And we'll obviously wait till everybody's there, but I can see that, so Dallin Schiffman's going for the first one. He hasn't figured out where to put that semicolon yet, but he will soon. We'll see shortly.
There's no semicolon. Dallin, you're looking for the arrow.
Chad
Or click the
Jardine
next
can't even figure out how to
plus.
log in, but he'll get there. Oh, he's now logged in. Austin's getting his first page loaded up. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm totally going to stream my screen, which I can flip back and forth between the people. So we'll be able to see it kind of happen.
So what they do on Twitch a lot of time is they'll take the people who are probably going to win, and they'll just do a 4-way screen share between those 4 people.
And
then
what
you
software, do you have any idea what software they're using when they do that?
They could do Twitch. Twitch will let you do group ups of, I think, 4 or 5 people.
Oh, so they're just using
then-
straight up Twitch.
What I would probably do is have your 3 top people and you, but your screen that you're sharing is actually more of the Zoom thing, and you can flip back and forth. But then your announcer is talking about the best 3 plus these
Brilliant.
up-and-comers.
Nathan, that's brilliant.
I'll have to think of the name. It's like Squad Stream or something like that on Twitch.
Somehow I've never heard of that, but okay. I also stream sometimes. I haven't heard of it. That's cool.
There's other ways to do it. I know a couple guys that do this quite a lot. I can reach out and ask them questions of what they use.
What do they do it with? Is there a specific game they tend to, what are they using it for?
There's the speedrunning community on Twitch is actually pretty big, and there's some really talented people on there.
Josh
And
Topham's made it to number 2. Nathan McClellan hasn't logged in yet.
This is like the party.
You're good. I'm just messing. This is, that actually, I think what you just described, like if I take the first, like whoever I think's going to be the top winners, and so maybe the second round is like the first round we just do Twitch, and it's just my screen, and I'm flipping back and forth between people and commenting, and then the second round when we actually have some winners and we can see who was fast, then we invite those fastest people to be in those 3 slots, and my Zoom on the other one, and it gives it in there. Yeah, that's great.
if you have a friend that's a gamer that's big into it, they'll know how to do this, right?
See,
I
that's
know
the funny part is I'm a gamer, but I'm not this.
Which
I've never streamed myself doing anything. But you're right. If I find,
yeah, there's a guy locally. Actually, in Provo, there's that gamer cafe right by J Dogs. Land King. The guys at
Land
Land
King.
King could do this for you. I don't know what they charge, but I'm sure they'd be happy to jump on it. And they do this stuff all the time.
Well, especially where we're talking about students coming out, a student event that introduces more people to their cafe would be interesting.
Here's what you do. Land King has like 30 computers in it. You go play games there. You rent out the whole place and you have 30 guys live and you've got a cameraman going around or, something simple to cameraman.
Oh, that'd be way fun.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where we do the final championship. Like you get, the state went five champions from each school to go like down there and film it live.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that actually was super helpful. And I'm really stoked that we found a way to switch back and forth between them. It's kind of a bummer that I couldn't figure out a way to like show everybody else what was there. But I think like streaming that with Twitch will totally work. And Drew and I we can test that. So maybe we'll do another call with the SVS team and get 4 or 5 people to share screens at the same time. And then I'll load up Twitch as well and make sure that the bandwidth, like that Zoom and Twitch don't conflict. Cool. Well, thank you for sticking around and giving us a go at it. Josh is on number 7 or number 8, 9. No, he's on 9 now. Dallin's on 15. Oh, Dallin's kicking
Oh my
trash.
gosh, Dallin. Holy cow.
Good job, Dallin.
I got stuck on 9. It's going to take me a minute. I think for entertainment value, if you want people on there that shouldn't be on there, I'm happy to be on. But like, it would be hilarious if you had like an art major that's just like
like trying to paint on their screen or something. Like,
yeah,
I'm not getting this.
It would show you the real deal, right? Like it's like having the regular swimmer like swim with the Olympic swimmers to show you like how fast they actually are.
Just how fast the Olympic swimmers actually are.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's not what
maybe
that's not what you're going for. But
did anybody else was anybody else able to get on it on Safari? I was like,
I should have made a disclaimer that it does not work on Safari. It has to be Firefox or a Chrome-based browser.
I'm happy to have tested that for you, and I can tell you that is true.
Oh, okay.
That is true, and it does not work on Safari.
It does not work.
That's funny.
I
Okay.
think it's the Madra side of it that doesn't, or wait, no, it's the Fanon side of it that doesn't work.
Yeah, the interpreter. So
Yeah.
Drew
thanks
and Will,
everybody for.
you guys, you got what you needed for today. I feel like
Yeah, absolutely.
most truth bombs.
And Dallin, Josh, if you guys want to finish it, see if you beat Ryan from SVS, that you can try.
I won't win. I can promise you.
No, keep up. It's like you probably have a fighting chance if you're really trying. You just have to beat 16 minutes. So
I won't beat 60 minutes. No way.
Will you make me post it all?
But if you can, try finishing it as fast as possible so I can get a better scope of what the average time to complete is. Pretty neat.
You want me to finish it?
You can try finishing. It won't take you that long if you just keep on going for it.
Well, Josh has got a slight disadvantage against Dallin because Josh, you were a marketing major, right, Josh?
That was economics.
Economics, yes. And
Oh, you got
Dallin is definitely computer science.
Yeah.
Computer science.
It asked me on the second question, change the print. I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
I don't even know what a print statement is.
It tells you in the first question.
So I didn't read good enough.
Beautiful. Well, thanks everybody for being on, and definitely, Hannah, if you can send us the recording, we'll go back over it, but I took some good notes and those were some good ideas.
Hey, Will, if you want an introduction to Micah that does some of these,
Yes.
I
Yes,
can arrange
please.
that.
Yes, please, Nathan.
Yeah,
That I think it's hilarious that you've done a bunch of this and that we've had lots of conversations, but never about events.
Yeah. Prior to Angel, I was raising money for charities on Twitch.
Oh, that makes a
Hey, Will, will you kick
lot
it back
more
up
sense.
the recording?
Say it again. Oh yeah, I'll give you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Cool.
Very cool.
I'm going to try to make these more often. I had a meeting ever since I switched jobs. It was every Tuesday, but I think I can get it moved now. So I'll join more of these.
Yeah, Midday
Awesome.
Connect's a good place to hang out.
You know, I never actually saw the back and next buttons on the bottom of the screen. I just noticed that. I'm like, I didn't realize those were there. I don't think they work as well. I'm seeing Dallin struggle to actually click them. They don't load fast enough. So Dallin, if you want, there's like the arrow right next to the play button that also does the same thing and it goes faster. Take it to the next one after you